what the hell is going on with our media in the Philippines. Okay, they were like posting a lot of copied, pasted, or purchased fake news from America's liberal media, and we have Rappler, we have ABS-CBN, we have Inquirer, Philippine Star, and all of them were like posting a lot of these fake news contents coming from America's liberal media, AFP, AP, Bloomberg, New York Times, etc. And they're missing the point. They're missing and not looking at the elephant in the room. And they're feeding the Filipino readers or netizens with trash that they got from the fake news industrial complex in the United States. Because if we're going to check on their posts, they're all like posting a lot of fake news about Biden winning the election, Biden winning Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, etc., without telling you the context behind all this, okay? Because I don't know why. They're probably in cahoots with America's fake news media industrial complex, or they're simply useful idiot. I don't know, but it's like a cancer or like worse than coronavirus that infected all of them. They're like all in one, okay, in lockstep, in trying to flood the Philippine World Wide Web with a lot of lies and propaganda coming again from America's liberal media. All right, so here are the contents I'm talking about. So I was like trolling them or posting or commenting on all of their posts about all of this fake news media articles coming from America's liberal fake news. So, for example, we have Inquirer. These are actually my tweets and replies. Okay, and by the way, this is my new Twitter account because for the nth time, Twitter banned my Twitter account, my old Twitter account, and I have 3 followers. All right, let me just show you my followers. By the way, I have 2 blue check marked followers, 3 followers, and one who is very interested in politics. So, all right, so let's check on what these liberal or probably Philippine media establishments have been posting over the past few hours. So, for example, 30 minutes ago, I posted or commented on this. U.S. Postal Service said about 1,700 ballots. This is actually one of the best posts so far by any Philippine media outlet about American elections. Okay, so I've been like searching over the past days and to check if there's some like objective post or repost that our Philippine media have been doing since the election on November 3rd or November 4th in the Philippines. So I just made a comment and okay, so here's Rappler is actually one of the worst. Okay, I don't hate Rappler. In fact, I'm a Duterte critic. I'm not a fan of Duterte because of his drug war and a lot of issues that I don't really like about him, especially policy wise. I don't just or I don't like him not because of his demeanor or character. No, I'm not into that. I'm more into ideas and politics, his policies. Okay, and I'm more against the policies than his character. So I can accept his character. That's who he is as president of this country. But I still respect him as the president in the Philippines. So, all right. So for example, Rappler, Lugao, and anyone. So they were like comparing the case of Leno Robredo and Bongbong Marcos with what's going on in United States today. The case between Trump and Biden, and a lot of from CNN, for example. I don't know what this guy is talking about. She's like talking about tension in the United States politics. But one thing is missing actually. They're not actually presenting the Filipinos the real context of this fight between Biden and Trump. So far the election is over. Okay, the American people were able to cast their votes even before November 3rd because of the mail-in ballot cheat system that the Democrats introduced. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. They should show us the real context. Why is it that they're showing us a lot of news about Trump, like complaining about what's going on? So, for example, Rappler was showing a lot of this some kind of anti-Trump posts coming from AP and AFP, and they're not giving us the context. So, for example, Trump, requesting that they should stop the counting. What's the context behind that? Okay, they should give us a context. So the context that they missed is, and that these fake news media in the Philippines won't tell you, is that the Democrats tried to cheat the elections. Okay, I know that a lot of Filipinos have this mentality that if you lost the game, whether it be politics or any type of game, that automatically nadaya ka na or you've been cheated. No, you're a victim of cheating, for example. That's not actually what's going on in the United States, because clearly Trump was a victim or is a victim of election cheating or rigging. And at the 11th hour, these Democrats introduced all these hundreds of thousands of ballots in these remaining states like Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania at the 11th hour, and they changed the rules. Okay, and what I've been telling or saying over the past few days in my previous vlogs, the Democrats use this coronavirus as an alibi or justification in order to cheat and rig the election process and defeat Trump. Okay, so they introduced this universal or forced mail-in ballots in order to rig the system and to pollute the system, and that's what they did in the eve of November 3rd. So before midnight, they paused or froze the election counting, the counting of votes and the declaration of winners in, for example, Arizona. And during that time, before midnight, Trump was like winning big. Okay, he's winning big in Pennsylvania as well. He's winning big. He's like leading, and then they paused. Okay, they froze the counting. There was a sudden stop. Okay, and no one could explain, not even the America's fake news media. No one was able to explain from the Democrat side, because all of these states are ruled or governed by American liberals or Democrats. Okay, they control the state. In the midnight of that big day, like a thief in the night, the Democrats were able to steal the election. They introduced and polluted the system with hundreds of thousands of questionable ballots, okay, probably fake ballots, etc. And for example, Trump has a big chance of winning his legal battle against Democrats in Pennsylvania. The Democrats in Pennsylvania tried to rig the election by introducing ballots after the election day against the rules, because according to their own state rules, all ballots that are going to be introduced after the election day are going to be invalid. Okay, you cannot introduce ballots after the election day. As you can see here, the Supreme Court orders Pennsylvania Democrats to respond in ballot dispute because they introduced ballots after the election day, which is against the state rules. Okay, in Pennsylvania, it is the state legislatures that has the final say about what to do with election policies and practices and processes. So it's not anyone else's call. Okay, so because America is a federal government. Okay, there is an independent state and there's an independent federal government, and the state governments are independent of each other, and they're independent of the federal government. So the states themselves, like Pennsylvania, can make their own election rules. Okay, so as you can see, according to the Republicans, this is an open invitation. They're introduction of ballots, mail-in ballots after the election day against the rules, like I said, is an open invitation to voters to cast their ballots after election day. That's the reason why there are so-called rules. Okay, you need to make the rules in order to prevent massive or widespread cheating. So these are the things that our Philippine media neglected to explain to the Filipino people. They're not actually telling you why Trump is complaining, why Trump is calling for the stoppage of counting. It's either they're complicit with America's liberal media or they just don't know what they're talking about. Okay, or they don't know the issue. Again, we have all this issue, this fight between President Trump's lawyers and the Democrat lawyers, because Joe Biden is not anywhere. Okay, he doesn't even know where he is actually, because he's got some mental issues because of, I don't know. He's probably got dementia, according to some people. So, all right. So all of this context that the media should tell you, they're not telling you because probably they have an agenda. It's either just plain ignorance or stupidity. All right. A lot of Trump's tweets were censored by Twitter. They keep censoring him, and he's the most powerful man on earth, and they're calling him fascist. These people, the people from Twitter, okay, most of them must be Democrats and liberals and Democrat donors. These people are the type of people that are calling Trump fascist. So he must be the worst fascist or Nazi on earth then. Because so what I'm trying to say is the Philippine media failed to tell you the main reason why we have all this crisis. We have all this crisis because the liberals and Democrats that wanted to win the election by any means necessary took advantage of the coronavirus or China virus crisis and introduced this forced mail-in ballots in order to poison or to dilute the election or the ballots at the 11th hour. And that's what they did when they had all this freeze, okay, the sudden freeze before midnight of November 3rd. So there's a sudden freeze, and the counting of votes in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Michigan suddenly stopped. And then all these, Democrats in those states were preventing election watchers from the Republican Party to witness what's going on. They were prevented and they were threatened with arrest, okay? And these Democrats are operatives of the Democrat Party, and their intention was really to hide the magic. They were hiding the magic from happening, from unfolding. So much like the elections here in the Philippines, the Filipinos mastered this traditional way of cheating, although the Americans were like somehow made it a bit digital, okay? Digital and more like spectacular to watch because, at the 11th hour before midnight, they stopped everything and then they started, doing this hocus pocus in order to introduce poison ballots to the pool. And then after a couple of hours, Biden started leading the votes in Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and now Georgia. So these are the facts of the case. So for Filipinos familiar with traditional cheating in the province, especially those living in Abra, I'm from the Ilocos region, so I'm very much familiar with the cheating strategies by local politicians, the sudden outages, okay, in public school rooms where they were counting the votes. There's sudden, power outage, and after that, they're gonna change the contents of the ballots, okay, the steel ballots. So they were doing that during the manual process. Now, we strive to modernize our election system because we know that faster election counting means more transparent and more integrity-based election results. We have that mentality. That's the reason why we were able to improve our election and counting system. We introduced the digital voting system so that we could simply and easily count the vote within one day, so that within the 24-hour period or even the 24-hour period, we already know who won the elections locally and nationally. So we know that time is of the essence when it comes to election counting. We're very much familiar with this problem here in the Philippines because we've been to this, okay? And this is something that our Philippine media are not discussing at all. The sudden pause, the sudden freeze of counting in Michigan is like the Filipino people going back to their traditional backward, traditional cheating system. Okay, like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So there's a reason why they had to pause it. Okay, that's because they would like to cheat and they would like to defeat President Trump by hook or by crook, okay, by any means necessary, regardless of whether they're gonna kill anyone or steal the ballots. Okay, that's exactly what it is. It's like a magic trick in the middle of the night, or like a thief in the night. They were able to change the election result.